You ever think about how deep the connections really go in this music industry? How it's not just about the artists you hear on the radio, but the wars they fight behind the scenes? Well, if you've ever wondered if there was some hidden connection between Prince and Diddy, let me tell you, there was, and it's more complex than you'd ever imagine. I know a lot of you have heard about the battle Prince waged against the music industry, those record labels that treated artists like nothing more than products to make a profit. You see, Prince didn't just fight for himself. He fought for every artist who's been taken advantage of, who's been robbed of what's rightfully theirs. The thing about Diddy was, well, his deal with Warner Brothers felt a lot like what Prince had been warning us about for years. The same game, just a different player. Let me take you back for a second. By the time Prince was making his third album, he was in a position that many artists would dream if he was recording in his own studio, on his own terms. The work was his. He paid for it, he created it. But the label didn't see it that way. And that's where the struggle began. Because when it comes down to it, the labels, they don't want artists to own their work. They want to control it, even if the artist has done everything themselves. You can't even blame the artist for wanting their work to reflect their own efforts, their own soul, but to the suits in the big offices, it doesn't matter. You signed the contract, so you owe us no matter what. And yet, all Prince ever wanted was fairness. He wasn't trying to break free. He just wanted a fair shake. But the labels, they don't change. And Prince knew that. So, in the end, he saw what was coming. He saw that these companies wouldn't last forever. He was right. Their grip would slip, but not before they tried everything to shut him down. Now, about that Diddy connection, Prince wasn't exactly fond of what Diddy was doing, at least not behind closed doors. See, Diddy would throw these wild parties at Prince's house, but Prince himself never attended. Why? Well, he had his suspicions. He didn't like what was happening behind the walls of his own estate. Tyrese, Demi Moore, Ashton Kutcher's winging on swings while other things went on, things that Prince couldn't even begin to approve of. There's also this one other thing that many don't know. Prince was tangled up in a legal mess with Jay-Z. Yeah, Jay-Z, someone Diddy was close to at the time. Jay-Z had been distributing Prince's music on Tidal without permission. That's how deep this whole industry game runs. It's all about control, and don't even get me started on how things ended for Prince. He tried to warn us. He tried to tell us how dangerous it was to let labels control your art, your life. But the powers that be don't like being exposed. People who go against the tide don't often live to tell the tale. Prince's death. Some believe Warner Brothers had a hand in it, but then again, maybe they didn't. Who really knows? But one thing's for sure, Prince paid the ultimate price for his battle. He stood for something bigger than himself. Let me rewind a little bit. Prince's story with Warner started in 1977, when he was just 18. He wasn't the huge name he'd become. His early albums didn't really hit, but Warner kept him around because they saw potential. They saw how he could represent them as a label. But Prince, as he started to rise, he realized that he wasn't getting what he deserved. He fought to own his music, and for a while, it seemed like he was just another artist in a broken system. But something changed. Prince became the face of a new era. When MTV exploded, so did Prince. By 1984, with Purple Rain, he wasn't just a pop star, he was an icon. But with success came the realization that the music industry wasn't going to let him go easily. He wanted control. He wanted to be free of the label's grasp. And that's when the battle started in earnest. Warner Brothers wasn't just trying to control the music, they wanted his name, his identity. So, Prince fought back. He wrote the word slave on his face, changed his name to a symbol, and fought to buy back his masters. He wanted to his music, but Warner said no. So Prince threatened them. He'd make his own version of his catalog, and fans would have to choose where their money went. It was a bold move, but it was also a cry for freedom. In the end, it wasn't just about the music. It was about ownership, control, the very essence of who an artist is. It's something Prince understood better than anyone, and it's something he paid for. But in doing so, he gave us a lesson that resonates today. Artists have to fight for what's theirs, or else they'll be silenced. So yeah, the connection between Diddy and Prince was more than just business. It was about a system one that profits off artists, keeps them in chains, and tries to silence anyone who speaks out. But Prince wasn't silenced. And now, even though he's gone, his message still echoes. It's a reminder that artists should fight for their right to own their work, their legacy, and their truth. Prince always knew that this world wasn't fair. He wasn't just battling for control over his music, his art. He was fighting for his legacy, but sometimes the fight takes more than you ever expected. And what happened to him? Well, it doesn't sit right. We all know the game. It's a game where the rules aren't yours to make, but once you sign that contract, you're in it. You're fighting for that small slice of the pie, and only a select few make it to the top. The rest of us, we're just considered a minority. But here's the thing. Look at yourself for a second. You are one of the most talented people on this planet, and despite everything, you're still standing. You're still grateful, and that's the beauty of it. Even when we win in their game, we still know who we're grateful to. We thank God now. What if we could play our own game? A game of peace and love for one another, not competition and greed. Prince, man, he was all about reclaiming his art and his life. In 2007, he did something wild. He went after YouTube, eBay, and the Pirate Bay for using his music without permission. He was tired of being treated like a product, and he made sure the world knew it. He was not just fighting for his music, he was fighting for all of us, for every artist who's been used, exploited, and forgotten. But it's the way he went out that makes everything feel ... wrong. Prince, one of the healthiest, most disciplined people you could ever meet, dead at 57 from a fentanyl overdose. That doesn't make sense. He was a vegan. He didn't drink, didn't do drugs, worked out regularly. He was health conscious in ways most of us could only dream of. So how did he end up in an elevator? The same elevator he once said represented the devil. And then there's that haunting moment he knew. He knew they were coming for him. Prince had canceled shows in the weeks before his death. He had even made an emergency landing, and the rumors were that he'd overdosed before. So why, after all of that, was he not under the care of a doctor? Why was someone as meticulous about his health as Prince allowed to slip through the cracks? It doesn't make sense, but then the story takes a darker turn. Days before he passed, he posted a picture of himself with a cryptic message. Just when you thought you were safe, twice he predicted his own death. And during his last public appearance at Paisley Park, after reportedly seeking treatment, he said something chilling to the attendees. Wait a few days before you waste any prayers. It's eerie. It's like he knew. And when celebrities like Kanye West, who's known for fighting the same battles Prince fought, say something about this, it hits harder. Kanye is often called the modern-day Prince. He, too, fights against the system, trying to free his art, his mind, his soul, from the same chains that tried to hold Prince down. Prince's death wasn't just an accident. It was something bigger. Something that's been happening to people who try to expose the machine, the system, the people in charge. They try to break you down. But Prince was never just about breaking the chains. He was about showing us all that we could be free. Even in death, his message lives on. So now, as we think about his legacy, let's remember his fight wasn't just for himself, it was for all of us. And in the end, it's not just about surviving the game, it's about rewriting it. Kanye West has always stood out as the ultimate example of independence in the music industry. But there's a dark truth behind his words. You know, he's often called crazy for his tweets and statements. But what if there's more to it? What if, in some ways, he's the modern-day Prince, fighting for the same things that Prince fought for all his life control over his own art, his own life, away from the corporate machine? Prince was all about standing up for his work. He didn't just want to make music, he wanted to own it, control it, and share it in his way. And Kanye, he was handed a gift from Prince, a song called Jail, because Prince admired what Kanye was doing with contracts. Both of them saw the game for what it really was, a system designed to trap artists in chains, only giving a few of them the chance to break free. But let's talk about Diddy. The game was always the same, even in the world of Bad Boy Records. Diddy had a deal with Warner that allowed them to take a 50% stake in his label. It's a setup. Many artists never see the long-term effects of Diddy. Wasn't just an artist, he was part of that same system, one that Prince was trying to escape from. Prince warned us about the corporate control in the music industry, and Diddy's deal was the exact thing Prince had been railing against for years. It was an empire built on exploiting artists, squeezing every ounce of creativity out of them until they had nothing left. And let's not even start on the number of bad boy artists Diddy is said to have screwed over. That list could go on for days. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Before his first lawsuit hit, Diddy actually started giving some of the publishing rights back to his former artists, including Biggie. But what he gave them wasn't really worth anything. It was too little, too late. It's funny when you think about how people like Diddy are celebrated now, how some even joke about his TikTok videos. But for the artists who gave their lives to his label, they didn't see a dime of the millions he made. No royalties, no recognition. They were left with nothing, just like so many others in the industry. And Prince, he was always one step ahead. He had his suspicions about Diddy, about the shady stuff going on at the parties Diddy threw, even at Prince's own house. Jason Lee, for example, talked about attending one of those infamous Diddy parties at Prince's estate. What made it different from other parties was that no one was allowed to bring their own security. It's almost as if Prince was distancing himself from everything Diddy stood for. And it's telling when you realize how Prince stayed away from the things Diddy was involved in, things that made him uncomfortable, things that went against his values. Then there's Jay-Z. Prince tried to trust him once. He thought Jay-Z was an artist who understood the game and wanted to help, which is why Prince struck a deal with Tidal. But just like everything else in Prince's life, that didn't turn out the way he expected. Prince's estate filed a lawsuit against Tidal, claiming that Jay-Z had put 15% of Prince's albums on the platform without permission. Tidal said they had an agreement, but Prince's team claimed the whole thing was fabricated. The whole situation was shady, and it left fans wondering if Jay-Z was just another cog in the same corporate machine that Prince had been trying to break free from. In the end, it's clear that Diddy and Jay-Z were two sides of the same coin. Both men are seen as industry giants, but they represent the same system that Prince was desperately trying to warn us about. Prince was trying to expose the truth about the music industry, the way artists get exploited, and how the system keeps pushing them down, but in the end, just like so many before him, he had to pay the ultimate price for speaking out. His death was too sudden, too suspicious, and too wrapped in the kind of mystery that makes you wonder if it was all just too much for the system to handle. So what do you think? Do you believe Prince's efforts to expose the industry's dark side played a role in his untimely death? Let me know in the comments below.